Representative Kat Cammack, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the Biden administration wants to expand Title IX protections to include gender identity. If this becomes law, what would it mean for women and girls?
Well, as we saw this past week, as we celebrated the 50th anniversary of Title IX, it would just further rob biological women and girls of the titles and podiums and awards that they have worked their entire lives to achieve. You know, Title IX was created to really empower women, biological women. And I stood side by side with women who compete for Team USA, who compete at the highest levels of collegiate athletics, and of course in high school. And these women are being forced to compete against biological males who have a distinct inherent advantage. And that is just wrong. So if we're going to be upholding Title IX to what it was originally intended to be and preserve girls' sports and really the opportunity for these women to excel in the sport of their choice, we have to protect it as it was originally intended. So I think it's a slap in the face what the administration has done, really trying to cater to the woke mob by including gender identity. So we're going to continue to stand firm and protect girls' sports and Title IX.
And some say that these protections or the expanded protections that are proposed are about fairness. Then on the other side, others say that it will actually lead to the elimination of women's sports altogether. Why do you think that would happen?
Well, it's like I said, you know, there is a distinct advantage that a male, a biological male, has when competing against women. And these women didn't sign up for co-ed sports. They signed up to play on a woman's team. And if we're going to be talking about fairness, then start with the science. The science is telling us that these biological males have a distinct advantage in speed and strength and physical structure that allows them to excel beyond what women can. And that's really, like I said, a slap in the face to all these women who have trained, who have prepared, who have competed their entire life. They have sacrificed so much just to really come to the tops of their sport. And again, this is just eroding women's rights. And Title IX was designed to empower women. And what the administration is doing is going against, one, the science, but also going against women. So that's why I think it's important that people stand up, be vocal about this issue. And I think that there is some sort of middle ground that we can come to when it comes to males who want to compete under a different gender, but they won't be competing against women and biological women. I can tell you that because, like I said, Title IX is about empowering and supporting biological women. And that's what we're going to continue to fight for.
And so what could happen in terms of what can Congress do? Because a lot of women feel that their voice isn't being heard in this debate, that essentially it feels like the erasure of women in some way.
Well, you know, this is what's interesting. Last week in Washington, D.C., I participated in both a roundtable, but also a press conference with Leader McCarthy and some of my colleagues, notably Greg Steube from the great state of Florida, one of my Floridian colleagues, but also Debbie Lesko from the great state of Arizona. And she has introduced the Women's Bill of Rights to protect women, and particularly Title IX. Representative Steube has introduced protecting women's sports legislation. And I think when you talk about what Congress can do legislatively, it's ensuring that these definitions aren't changed to accommodate the whims of a political agenda. And that really is what needs to happen in codifying this legislation. So there's steps that we're taking. And I will say this is not a partisan issue. This isn't just Republicans leading the charge. I stood alongside Democrat activists at this press conference who fought long and hard for many, many years, several of whom were former athletes that they are absolutely dismayed with what the administration is doing in changing the core function of Title IX. So this is really getting to an issue that I think all Americans collectively can agree on. And it definitely is a bipartisan issue, and it should remain that. Title IX is about protecting women's sports, and it will continue to exist for another 50 years, but only if we fight together as one. So I'm really proud of the work that's been done legislatively, but we now have the tough task ahead of us of actually passing this legislation and getting it to the Senate.
Representative Kat Cammack, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.